Intuition is not a brain thing. It's not an up here in my head thing. It is a full embodiment. And this is why some people, they see very clearly intuitively, or they hear intuitively, or they feel intuitively, or they just know. And usually when they know, that's a full body experience because they're hearing, they're seeing, they're feeling, they're knowing, sometimes smelling, sensing, tasting, all of these things all at once. And it just comes in as a knowing, but it's a full body connection. If you want to use your intuition on a regular basis, this is why it's so important that you learn how to relax your mind and your body. That's what we're going to talk about today. And thank you so much for joining me on the Art of Tuning In podcast. I'm Dr. Maria Furlano. It's great to have you here today. I've been away for a little while, busy teaching, busy working with clients, but I'm back. I'm excited to jump back into the show. I'm excited to share new things with you. And I just so appreciate you being here. If you're new, thank you for finding this podcast. Thank you for finding this episode. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So let's dive into intuition, relaxation, what's happening, and why it's so important that you learn these tools now, especially with all of the things that are happening in the world. Right now is the time when we are distracted the most. When we're distracted, when we have an engagement of worry, an engagement of fear, an engagement of overwhelm, our brain goes into a certain kind of speed, should we say, a certain kind of looking at things to protect ourselves, to take care of things. It moves us into this action, this fight and flight type of way of being, which I'm sure you've heard about. And when that happens, our intuitive side, which tends to be more located on the right side of our brain, that intuitive side tends to disengage a little bit, tends to calm down because the other side of the brain and all of the other functions of the brain are in this very focused place of making sure that you're safe. But here's the thing. Your intuition can also keep you incredibly safe, incredibly empowered, and incredibly knowing of what the next step should be in your life. So when we learn how to relax, to tune in, to anchor our energy on a regular basis, and when I say regular basis, what I mean is throughout our day. When we learn how to actively include that in our day, not just, in the morning or in the afternoon, maybe when you're taking a class, or you decide to do some meditation for yourself, which is all great. That is all great to do. But what about the rest of the day? What about the rest of the night? I've mentioned before that one of the biggest questions that I always get is I feel great when I'm doing my Qigong practices. I feel great when I'm doing my meditation practices. I feel great when I'm doing the things that I know make me connected in my mind to my body. And then I finish that practice, just like, you go to the gym and you finish a workout. I finish that practice and then I go out to the rest of my day. And it feels like it just slowly dissipates, that I can't hold that same focused alignment or that same feeling as I did when I'm practicing. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do you bring that with you and truly incorporate intuition into every part of your day, even when you are needing to do general tasks. So when you are doing general tasks like analytical things, your intuitive side tends to quiet because we are again moving into the side of the brain of logic and of figuring things out in that logical way. That's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. We want both sides online. But if we get too used to only being in our logical brain, then our intuition just doesn't get activated as much. It's still receiving messages. Your whole body is an antenna, right? Your entire body is always radiating energy. and your entire body is always receiving energy. So that's going on. But it's whether or not we are in tune with that. It's whether or not that we are more aware, whether we pay attention to that more than perhaps something else that we're doing. So what I mean by that is when we get used to being in an expanded state. So when you're doing your meditation practices, when you're doing your Qigong, when you're doing something that feels really good, when you're in nature, your energy is in an expanded state. And when you're in an expanded state, you feel safe and you feel relaxed. And information is flowing much more easily than when you're in a contracted space. When you start to focus on things, when worry comes in, when overwhelm comes in, when fear comes in, things begin to contract. And that's because you can think of it this way, that everything is focusing in to protect you. Everything is focusing in more of a straight ahead view for you to be able to get from A to B safely. And sometimes that's necessary. If there is a true emergency going on, you need to be able to get from A to B safely. And you need to have, in a sense, that tunnel vision so that you let everything around you that is not needed for you to know, let that go and focus completely on moving forward. But our daily life isn't like that. So when we are bombarded with the news, with social media, with information that's coming in with overwhelm, fear, worry, all of these kinds of frequencies, we may not realize how our body is reacting and responding to this. We may not be fully aware that our energy is contracting as we are being subject to this information, as we are allowing ourselves to engage with the information, which is why most people who are more into expanding their frequency, more into expanding their energy, more into listening and tuning into their intuitive nature, learn to turn off the TV, learn to let go of the news, learn to really limit their social media to only elevated and positive information. So as we all do that, it's very natural that we feel safer, that we don't feel overwhelmed, and that our energy now relaxes, that we can move through life in a more peaceful way. We engage more with nature, we engage more with each other, and we listen to our heart more. We tune into ourselves more rather than being distracted by what's outside of us. So, this is another important point. When we're distracted by what's outside of us, our attention will go directly to that. When we want to listen to our intuitive guidance, to our intuitive gifts, to the information that is constantly giving to us all the time, that is an internal alignment. That is a place to go inward, to connect, to breathe, to settle, to what we call anchor your energy, to root your energy, to allow yourself to be embodied. Intuition is not a brain thing. It's not an up here in my head thing. It is a full embodiment. And this is why some people, they see very clearly intuitively, or they hear intuitively, or they feel intuitively, or they just know. And usually when they know, that's a full body experience because they're hearing, they're seeing, they're feeling, they're knowing, sometimes smelling, sensing, tasting, all of these things all at once. And it just comes in as a knowing, but it's a full body connection. And when we are fully embodied, when we are in alignment with who we are and also grounded into the earth and also expanding into the universe, what happens is our antenna expands. And so as our antenna expands, we receive more information, or we're able to receive more information. And that's really important to understand, because a lot of people get very confused as to why they're not receiving more intuitive guidance for themselves. Sometimes, and I was working with a client recently and explaining that when we move into these intuitive states, it can be a lot easier to read energy for someone else rather than it is for our own self. And that is because generally we can allow ourselves to relax and we can focus and tune in on someone else. We're not overwhelmed. We're not worried. We're very present to this other person. Well, what we want to do is to be very present to ourselves, to be able to take the time to relax. And this takes time to maybe get in the beginning, but then it becomes like second nature. It becomes a muscle memory. It becomes a full body memory where we just know, I'm going to tune in now. I'm going to come back into myself. I'm going to root and ground my energy. I'm going to breathe and I'm going to expand my consciousness. I'm going to expand my focus. So very different that I expand my focus rather than narrow in. When we expand our focus, it's like we're able to receive help from places that are also at a very high frequency, because of course you always want to be tuning in and directing your intention to very elevated, loving frequencies. You don't just open yourself up to anything, because now you are opening yourself up as an antenna to any information that's flying around. When we really tune into energy, when we really understand that there is energetic movement all the time, it becomes real for us. We realize, even though we may not be able to see it, we may not be able to touch it tangibly, like I'm picking up something, but it's there and it's real. And if it's real, then I'm able to expand myself into it. We begin to become more and more clear and more precise about what we are willing to tune into. When we understand that we're exchanging frequency all the time. So if I'm going to exchange my frequency all the time, then I might as well exchange it with energy that is loving, that is clear, that has my best intention at heart as I have its best intention at heart. Just like how we pick our friends. Hopefully we're picking people around us who support us, who love us, who are honest with us, who have our best intention at heart. And so we have a great community of people around us, or maybe just one or two amazing friendships around us, but we know that they have our back. And that's the same with universal energy, with what we're tuning into, that it is of the highest frequency, not any information. And that's really, really, really important. There's a lot of people who begin to experiment with tuning into different energies. And I think that probably may be normal. But if I can spare you from not tuning into frequencies that are of a lower vibration, or that just are not there to truly support you, and to have you understand that you can direct your intention, that your thoughts move the energy. So just like the thoughts move the energy in your body, right? Your mind directs the chi in your body. It directs the energy in the body. What you think about, your chi will flow in that direction. It's the same around you. It's the same with how you tune into the world around you. What you're thinking about goes out and connects and returns to you. So what we are connecting with is constantly in and out. It's a constant exchange of energy. So as we move through our day, what we want to do is to take time through our day to settle our energy. we might be focusing, let's say you're doing your taxes, right? I don't know anybody who loves to do their taxes. But what I'll do, for example, when I'm doing my taxes, is I will set my space. And I do this all the time with really pretty much anything that I do. But especially if I have a task that's requiring me to do a lot of very logical, focused thinking that maybe I'm not loving, but I've got to get it done and I want to do it right. I will put candles out. I will use aromatherapy. I will set my space. I will clear my space and fill my space with energy that supports me. So just doing that, I'm bringing the intuitive side to me. I'm bringing in the spiritual side. I'm bringing in the more expansive side of my energetic nature into the activity that I'm doing. And then it's very important that while you're doing this activity, especially since if you're listening to this podcast, you are most likely a very sensitive, intuitive, energetic person. Because of that, when you are sensitive, energetic, intuitive, you need more breaks. And it's not at all bad to be sensitive, energetic, and intuitive. It just means that you're picking up a lot of more information that other people don't even see or sense or tune into. And so if you're picking up a lot of that information, then you have to understand that your system is reacting and responding to that information. So it needs to be recalibrated. It needs breaks. It will do so much more for you if you will give yourself breaks and if you will not try to push yourself and if you will take a few moments to realign your energy. And if you will just then allow yourself to breathe and expand and then come back to what it is you're doing. So we are constantly expanding and constantly refocusing. And if we can go through our day and think about our life this way, that we are not only expanded when we are doing our spiritual or energetic practices, but we are constantly expanding and constantly contracting. But it doesn't have to be a contraction where you are stiff and tight and fully contracted, but we're moving. We want to think of it more as in and out, expanding and drawing in, expanding and drawing in the same way that we breathe. As we inhale, right, we're drawing in the energy. As we exhale, we let it go. We're expanding the energy. And there's an exchange. There's always an exchange of energy. When you are energetically sensitive, when you are highly intuitive, when you are someone that picks up things in your environment more than other people, you're highly observant, you want to make sure that your energy is always flowing, that we don't get stuck, that you allow yourself to be in an expanded state so that you can continue to sense and feel. Because when you try to be in expanded state all the time, because sometimes people try to be in an expanded state all the time. And they think, I'm going to be intuitive and I'm going to sense everything and I'm going to live this way. An expanded state all the time is not a fluid energy experience, the same way that a contracted state is not a fluid energy experience. This is why the in and out state is how we naturally move through life. So when we move into our day and we understand that we're going to be moving, I've compared this before to blood pressure, that our blood pressure is constantly shifting and constantly changing depending on how we feel. And it's very natural throughout the day for blood pressure to shift and change. It's not natural to have really big highs and really big lows, but it is natural for there to be a balance of movement within our blood pressure, just like it is natural for there to be a balance of movement with our energetic fields, with how we are reacting and responding and engaging and coming out and engaging in and coming out with the world around us. It's very, very natural. So thinking about energy fluidity thinking about rhythm, thinking about how you're engaging and how you want to engage is a very wonderful way to keep your intuitive brain and your intuitive gifts active throughout your day. And I think right now it's so important for us to remember that our intuitive gifts are so important, that they are supportive for us, that they help us, that they're there to direct and guide us. And we do not want to shy away. We do not want to contract our energy. We want to expand and we want to move through life very empowered and very aligned with who we are. But the flow and the rhythm and the expansion and the contraction is part of all of that. So if we pay attention to that more, we can move through life in a much more fluid daily way. So I would love to hear from you. What do you think about how your energy flows through the day? Do you notice that you are contracting more often, or are you more expanded? Are you noticing the ebb and flow of being contracted, of being expanded? How do you do during your day? Are you taking time for yourself? I just would love to know what's happening for you in your life in relationship with your energy, with your intuition, and with how you're feeling about what's happening in the world right now. How is that affecting you? Just remember that you are a gift and that you are truly deserving of being fully supported by your intuitive gifts. And I thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.